I am Ann-Peggy Divine. Welcome to the Divine Design, the podcast where we unfold heaven on earth and reframe spirituality and theology for a new cosmic era. Your journey on human evolution and integration of your divine design starts here. For the rest of 2026, I am offering 8 free gifts every week, starting week 33. Every week, 8 people will receive a free 13-minute attunement session, a part of Ask Divine. This is the session where something shifts, because you finally meet the part of yourself that has been waiting to be heard. To qualify, you can do one or both of the following. Share Field Readings newsletter with 3 people. You will find it at anpeggydivine.com or weltsmerts.se under Join Field Readings. Or share 1 or 2 of my weekly videos on your Facebook or Instagram timeline. Then let me know. Send me a DM on Messenger or Telegram, or write in the Facebook group Ask Divine. Every Friday I drew 8 names. If you are one of the 8, you will receive a private DM from me on Friday with your personal booking link. Sessions take place on Sundays and Mondays on Zoom, and you will receive your Zoom link from me the day on your session. Didn't make it this week? You're automatically in the draw again next week. The link to attunement session and Ask Divine is below. I'll see you there. Welcome, Richard Barrett, to this Divine Design podcast.
Hello. Apologies for not showing up on time. We had technical difficulties, and then it's my wife's birthday this week, and I thought I'd take her out for coffee, and we're having such a good time. It just flew by, and I forgot about our meeting, so I'm arriving late. Anyhow, I'm here now, and there's not a problem.
No, it's not. We had this technical issue, so your sound is from Messenger, and the recording is on Zoom, so we go with the flow and see how it goes. That's
okay. All right, let's see how it goes, shall we? That's a good metaphor for the whole of life.
Yes, it is. And I just opened this and asked you if you knew what happened these days in Norway, the 13th of July. We had just taken our football boys home, and I'm not into football because I have never been kind of a football interested in it, even though I have 4 kids having played on their team, but it hasn't been a thing for me. But I went into the wave that happened in Norway,
and it looks like you got the hat.
Yeah, it is actually my daughter's hat.
Okay.
And a lot of people have worn red, blue and white clothes because it is the color of the flag of Norway.
Right.
But I want to talk about it in a wave that spread all around the world. Because now we have seen that this is possible in one country. Then we know it is possible in all countries. So even though they didn't bring back a trophy or a goal model that we will celebrate that. But we celebrate them even though they kind of went out long before the final.
Well, not that long before, but they had a really good game and they showed up with great values. Let me put it that way.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes, they did. I
think that's what was memorable about the Norwegian team, was their joy in participation.
Yes. I work with a lot of Swedish people this summer, and I spoke to them about the Norwegian League, and they said that what is so good about the Norwegian, they have so good value, and the way they show up and they support each other, they function as a team. Sweden are not that good, they said, because they they can learn from Norway. So even others see that the team function and how they co-create, this is what brought them this far, even though we had good players, of course, but the team function and their values and their attitudes, all of this is the fundamental.
Totally fundamental. I think there's a word for that. It's called harmony. I think there are a few nations in the world that actually have very strong harmony, and Norway is one of them.
Yes, yes. I will forever remember 13th of July. I was working 13 hours when I came home evening, and it was direct television from the castle, from there where the king kind of had, and the king and the royal family met the football team.
Yeah.
And it was direct television for 4 hours. And I was glued. I don't watch TV, so I'm kind of a person that don't normally watch TV, but I was glued, and I felt such a heart opening. I felt that my heart was expanding, and I was in tears, and I was so proud, and I felt all this love, belonging, and all this co-creational, because it was about humanity. It wasn't about the football team, even though it was them that started it, but it was all people in Norway that united in this. So it's actually very big.
Yeah. Very, yeah. Apologies for that. But you felt the energy physically, the energy of connection, quite a deep level of your country people, of your.
Yes. Yeah. But as I say, I want to put it in a bigger scale. As both of us, we are into this bigger scale. How can we evolve into it from and all around the world? So do you have any advice? How can we learn from this experience in each country? What can each country learn from this?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because you are speaking about your experience in Norway and joining up with other Norwegians. So it's a question of identity.
Yep.
And you felt a sense of identity with your country people.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is expand that sense of identity to the whole of humanity.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to create that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, unless we have a football team for the whole of humanity playing another football team for the whole of humanity on Mars, for example, then we can all get together. Sounds a bit silly, doesn't it?
Yeah, but even though it was the football team, it's like, how can we do it? It doesn't have to be a football team. It can be in other arenas. So that's kind of the point. And identity, yes, because what I wrote, I was so inspired. This Monday, I need to do something. So I wrote 3 songs. 3 songs about we rowed together, kind of we are rowing ourselves home. Because it was rowing ourselves home. Because the rowing is the inherit from the Vikings. And they were also doing things together. They knew that they needed to collaborate and do things together. And also they were so into the understanding of Mother Earth and collaborating with her that everything is relational. So it feels for me that it is about taking back our inherited, kind of what we natural are in essence, above the identity of a country and a nation.
Exactly. So it's a question of expansion of identity. And when you look at the development of psychological development, you deepen your psychological development. Can you hear me twice or once?
Once.
Okay, good. you deepen your sense of psychological development, psychological connection by expanding your sense of identity. So now, what you felt was the identity of Norway and everybody being together. And now what we need to do is to expand our sense of identity to include the earth and first of all the rest of humanity, and then the earth, and then everything that is. So as we expand our sense of identity, we care for everything that is within our sense of identity. So if you identify with your country, you will care for your country and the people. If you can identify with humanity, you'll care for the whole of humanity. If you care for the earth, you'll care for all of humanity and every creature on the planet. And so expanding your sense of identity is the key to what you're talking about. And eventually you expand your sense of identity not only to all of the physical world, but to the whole of the energetic realm, which includes the physical world. And you know about that.
Yeah.
So you become one with all there is.
Yes.
And in order to do that, you have to do something very revolutionary. You have to become nothing. Because when you become nothing, you can identify with everything.
Yes.
If you're not nothing, then you'll be identified with something. But if you can become nothing, then there's nothing to defend anymore. There's nothing to upset you about not getting whatever your identity, those needs met. So becoming nothing is a way of saying, I am letting go of all of my identities in order to identify with everything that there is, because I can't identify with everything there is unless I identify with nothing, because then I'm actually identifying, I'm open to everything. Yeah. Because as soon as you identify, you start defending, and that's and that blocks you from being in that space that you're talking about.
Yes.
And so you experienced that at the country level.
Yes.
I mean, it totally took over who you were. I mean, you said to me, I never watched TV, but I couldn't stop watching. I was totally engrossed in this larger sense of identity.
Yeah, I said yes to it because we can choose what we want to go into, and I chose. And when you are talking about becoming nothing, I talk about this being in the unknown, because it is also being in the unknown for 1 second to another, because we want to know, we want to be in our head. So I say, go to our heart, and the heart, the identity of the heart is to everything and nothing at the same time. So it's just being in the unknown from second to second. But when I came home and the television was turned on, normally it is never turned on, but I say, what's going on? Well, the football boys are coming home. Oh, and it was all of us, the home, husband and kids. We went so deep into it and just followed them, and rowing, and the king drumming, and it's like, I was so emotional, because I thought, this is starting something. We will remember this moment. This will go all around the world. This rowing together is not only for Norway. Yes, it started in Norway, but this will spread all around the world. I just felt it, and my heart was like, wow. It was like, yeah, I felt it in so many levels, that this is much bigger than what's happening. It's bigger than the experience of each of us, and the Norway. And so it is, I just felt that this is a shift, a collective shift.
It certainly could be. And I think that was the gift of the Norwegian team to the World Cup, basically. The rowing together captured everybody's imagination.
Yeah.
Now, whether they were able to expand that in their own minds to the whole of humanity, I don't know. But people got it. They say, oh, look, these people are actually all working together. They're rowing together. They're going in the same direction. And what they're showing is something called coherence. Coherence is the word.
Yep, it is.
And that's what we need at a planetary level. We're at the level of humanity. We need coherence for humanity, so that we're all moving in the same direction. And that's what you felt. Now, which was very different from when you saw the football final. I don't think you saw it yesterday.
I did. I actually did because I was hoping Spain would go with the victory, and they did. It was like, you have to win. You have to win. I didn't want. Sorry to say it.
Look, I've got nothing against Argentina or Argentinians in general, but this was a very nasty football match.
Yes, it was.
And Argentina, in my opinion, didn't deserve to win because it was all about their self-interest.
Yep.
And when they lost, they started fighting. I mean, what sort of compare that to what happened to Norway? I mean, when Norway lost against England, that's not what they did. They started rowing.
Yeah.
And the Argentinians started fighting. I mean, what a interesting example of
it
opposites.
Is. Yeah, and that's the most beautiful of it, because we now have witnessed how we can meet this. So we can meet this with unity and rowing together, or we can start to fight. So Argentina actually showed the old paradigm, what we have spoken about, the old way of doing it. And Norway actually showed the new way of doing it. So that's why, and even though if it had been Argentina who did it the Norwegian way and it was the opposite, I would applaud Argentina if they were the one doing what Norway. So I don't say this just because I live in Norway. I say it because this is what I stand for, and I hope that it can evolve.
Right. So we're having a podcast about football.
And I have never been into football, and actually this has happened in Norway. So that's interesting, Richard. There are so many people that I had no interest in football. There are thousands of people in Norway saying I had no interest in football. No, a lot of people. And now football is uniting us. So that's so interesting because we rode together. Yeah. It is all about what it unites us. It's united us. So it wasn't just if the football boys of Norway had done the same as Argentina, this would not united us. It will be
not at all.
Not at all.
No. So it was a very memorable World Cup for those reasons. For the emotional reasons, it was very memorable.
Yeah.
And I just like a good football match, but I noticed in the in the final between England and France, which was for the third place, there was also some wonderful things that happened, and maybe you weren't aware of them, but the player called Bellingham was there was a situation where England got a penalty, and the Bukayo Saka had already scored 2 goals. Was there, and Bellingham would have been the normal man to take the penalty and probably to score a goal. And if Bellingham had scored that goal, he would have been the leading scorer for Britain, for England. But he didn't. He said to Bukayo, he said, "You take it," and Bukayo took it and he got a hat trick. That's 3 goals, which was really quite amazing for an English person who scored 3 goals, and not that many. And Bellingham gave up his idea of becoming the leading scorer for England by giving it to Bukayo.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then the amazing thing happened. 10 minutes later, right at the end, Bellingham gets the ball in the English half. He runs the whole length of the field, dribbles past 3 players and scores a goal. And so he got that honor of scoring the most goals for England. And he'd given up that. He'd given up that idea by handing it over to somebody else. So I thought that was another wonderful story coming out of it.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, because I haven't watched the games, so
No.
I because I just went into it this last week, kind of, and but yes. So yeah, it's a lot of good example, and also we saw that it wasn't fair games because it looks from a lot of views that there were manipulation in the games from the judges and from others that yeah it didn't look clean. All the games didn't look clean, so
No.
a lot of stuff came up
Right.
in this World Cup. Yeah.
And that was the other thing about the England-France game. Apart from those stories, the number of fouls and the number of yellow cards was very, very small. They had both sides had really nothing to lose anymore, and so they just played their hearts out, and it was a very exciting game. It was 6-4 to England. I mean, 10 goals in one match. Now, we don't often see anything like that, and people just loved it because they just played their hearts out without fouling very much other people. They were just playing for the fun of it, for the joy of it.
Yeah, and that's how we started it out. We started football like that, so it's kind of going back to the roots because because when we have put it on profit and money and betting and all this, and then we start to argue and fight, that's the old way of doing it. But if you do it for fun,
Yeah. Now I'll tell you another story about football. Okay, I mean, since we're on the topic of football,
yeah.
there is a movie called The English Game. The English Game. You can look it up on Netflix or whatever, and it goes back to the origins of soccer in England, maybe a century ago, when only the very how shall I put well-educated rich people played soccer.
Okay.
It wasn't a game for the ordinary man, and the ordinary man decided, well, look, why can't we play and being part of this league of football? And there was a resistance from the people who were already in there, who were the rich and the powerful. They didn't want the poor people joining them, but of course they did, and eventually it came through. So it's just like it was a bit like the story of the gender story of in the early 1900s when women didn't have the vote. I mean, same old stories like exclusion, separation. Yeah, and the privileged ones don't want to include the other people. And so there's lots of soccer stories which are very, how shall I put it, laden with values, lots of values that we can talk about.
Yeah. And that's the most important, the values and the virtues, and kind of we have done so much alone, and it's all about co-creation because we need each other. We are not on this earth alone. We are not supposed to be alone. We are co-creators and want to do the best for all of us.
Correct.
Yeah. So and we really saw that to this World Cup, that the value is more important than winning.
Yes, indeed.
So actually, from my perspective, I see the winner as Norway. Not because it's but I see Norway as a winner of this World Cup because of what they showed the world of values and rowing together.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that. And from my perspective, I would say that the World Cup final, a better game was the game against England versus France. It was a much better World Cup final than the one we actually saw. And that was the final for the third place, If that had been the final of the whole World Cup, I would have said brilliant, but yeah. So anyhow, we could talk about this for a long time, but I think it's interesting that you raised this and you managed to wear your hat today.
Yeah, I just had to because this week I have used it. My daughter used it on the game, and she was with, and then I was at a summer party 2 days ago, and since then I have used it. And I think it's kind of funny because, as I say, I have not gone into football, but now it is bigger than football, as I say, because it is about unity, co-creating, and the values, and helping each other, being there for each other. It's not only from fighting against the trophy and money and all of this. So now it has opened another depth.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you another story about football. Okay.
Okay.
About 5 or 6 weeks ago, my wife were on a cruise around the Mediterranean in a boat with about 400 people. And on that boat were 79 Chinese people. And they were on that boat because the company they worked for in America had paid for them all to go on this cruise. I mean, the company must have spent $1 million because that was not a cheap cruise. It was quite an expensive cruise. Anyhow, they were on the cruise for 10 days. And it was just at the start of the World Cup. So the cruise boat made one room available for us to watch the opening matches, okay? So I went along to sit there, and there were several Chinese people sitting there with me. And through football, we began to talk to each other, and they were telling me which English football teams they supported, and we developed a camaraderie.
Wow. Yeah.
Because we had the same interest, you see.
Yeah.
Now, I find that true wherever I go. Let's say I go to Saudi Arabia and I meet some gentlemen there, and I say, well, what team do you support? And they say, oh, we support Liverpool, or we support Manchester United, or whatever. And immediately we have a point of connection.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And I made friends with these Chinese people, and we exchanged email addresses and things. It was really, really interesting.
Yeah, so that's the gifts of football. And when you mentioned this, I remember in the beginning of 1990, I worked in a company, and it was a lot of men, and all of these men were into football, and they had each other. They had their team. I'm Tottenham. I'm all this. I don't know all the name, but it was Liverpool and everything. Right. And they went into the game, and when they came back the day after, you could watch them if they were sad and I'm angry today. They have lost because they identify so much with their team, right, that they were cranky and don't talk to me today. And the one who had won, you could see whose team they were on. So I thought that, are you crazy? You let a team decide which emotion you are supposed to be for a week or a day. And I thought that was so silly, and I never understood it. But that went on all the years I worked at that, and I worked from 1990 to 1999, I think. Yeah, so okay, they were like that. It's kind of, well, that's my team, and now don't talk to me today because we lost. So it's kind of, what? So there again, what are you identifying with? And if you lost, you had the right to be angry and put out your anger because you lost. And for me, it was kind of, are you baby?
Well, let me tell you a rather sad story about that. Okay. Because female abuse, okay? When supporters of football teams, strong supporters, and of course this is not everybody, when they lose, they go home and beat their wives. There's lots of examples of that amongst the poorer working classes. And so the women stay at home praying for their team to win, because if they're not, they'll be abused when they come home. Husbands come back. And of course, the husbands come back after I mean, this is a very British thing, and I'm not proud of it, but then they have a football match, they go to the pub and they drink several beers, and now they're really drunk and angry, and women suffer. It's awful, really awful.
Richard, actually, I think that has been case for some women also in Norway, because when they brought all this anger out at work, I'm sure that they brought some of it on their wives, because all of them almost was so. They didn't tell because they were mean at work, and I can imagine what they were like at home. So I think that some Norwegian women that have had men that identify so much with the league had the same experience. Even though maybe not so, I don't know how much deep you go into abuse, but anyhow, yeah.
That's, the shadow side of football.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've been talking about the upside of the bringing people together, but actually there is another shadow side to football.
Yeah.
Or to many sports, or team sports, anyhow.
Yeah, and when you mention that, I want to mention Erling Braut Haaland. I don't know if you have heard about him.
Who hasn't? Haaland, Haaland.
I think he is an excellent, because we know his wife and he's a role model for being a football player. He go in Lotus, he meditate, and he is himself. He don't care kind of what people say, but he is so down to earth. I really love the role model of Haaland, because he is a perfect example for other football players to follow, because even though he loses a match, I'm sure that he don't bring a harm out to his wife.
Okay, well, let's talk about children. He's a fantastic role model for children who follow football.
He is.
And we need more like that.
We need more like that. So that's why Haaland and a lot of others, it is actually almost the whole football team of Norway have this value. So they have built this value, like this fundament. And that, I think this is the most important.
And that all has to do with the culture of Norway.
Yeah.
And, the culture of Norway is harmony, but it's also, I'm not going to be better than you. And Haaland is actually, he adopts that, but actually then he shines. He shines as well,
But for 5-10 years, we have been more aware about the jantelov, the love of jante, because we know it exists, and we try to work through this shadow, because it is kind of the shadow side of Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. So we are aware of this jantelov, so we have allowed ourselves more to shine.
Yeah, I wrote about that in my book, the what is it, the soul of the North, the hidden soul of the North. I can't remember the title of my book now, but it was about Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Sweden, and the hidden soul of the North. And you've done that. You've almost taken this harmony to a level where it becomes doesn't allow people to be truly independent and grow, because they close themselves down in order not to disturb the culture and the community. And it's a very interesting phenomenon, which is, again, is the shadow of Scandinavia, actually. I mean, we all have our shadows. I'm not saying other countries don't, but that is particularly...
Yeah, it is. And I have also written about it, and I call it the Weltsmerts, because it is a Weltsmerts, and it was actually supported by the Christianity also, that the wave that happened in Christianity, because God was above everything, so they could induce this force that we mustn't think that we were better than other, because if we shine our glory, then it was a risk of people dying, because we depended on each other. So if someone went out of the group, it could cost our lives because we were so poor. Norway, we were a very, very poor country until 1969. It was just when we found oil, then we drew. So we have been a very, very, very poor country. And a lot of Norwegian people immigrated to United States because we were so poor. So we have poor inheritance kind of because we didn't have so much. So it was the oil that really kind of we won the lottery ticket, and then everything changed.
Okay.
So and then when you understand that, we understand that we needed each other, because if one said I want to do my thing, then a family risked losing because it was hard winters. We are living in Arctic here. So we needed everyone to collaborate. We couldn't be in our sovereignty because then someone would die. So we needed each other. So that's why this love of Jante became so strong, because it was all about survival, 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 survival.
Right. And it's quite deep.
It's quite deep. It's very deep. I work as you know, as a trauma therapist, and I see this wealth match and this poorness, deep poorness, kind of lack of joy, lack of abundance, deep into our bone marrow. So it is so deep, and I have worked on the coccyx, because even the coccyx is kind of a lot of pain from the ancestor inheritance of poorness. So yes, it is deep. It is deep in our bone structure, in our DNA.
Yeah, absolutely. And every nation has that, you know. Every nation has that same. I've been traveling to Indonesia a lot, and Indonesia is one of the most harmonious countries in the world, yet it has over 900 different tribes and over 1,000 different islands, and yet it's very harmonious with at least 5 different religions, but it's extremely harmonious. Now, that harmony is a good thing, but it's like in the DNA. So it means that I'm not going to disturb the equilibrium. And very similar to Norway. I often think about Indonesia and Norway being similar, but at a different level of consciousness. And it also means that people don't want to disturb the equilibrium, so they will. They won't. It's not that they lie, but they don't tell the truth because they don't want to disturb the harmony.
Yeah.
And you know, you have a similar thing in Scandinavia around what's the word where you begins with C. I've forgotten what the word is. Where you all agree without having to consensus.
Yeah.
Consensus is a part of that same issue, and it's the same in Indonesia. So in order to preserve the harmony, there has to be consensus, which means nobody is accountable because we're all accountable. And so people avoid taking accountability, which is not a good thing in business circles, because if you want to move things forward, you have to make people accountable.
Yeah.
So there are lots of issues with these wonderful values that we have in our nations, and the shadow side of these values shows up in the culture, which inhibits, let me put it that way, inhibits the true personal development.
Yeah, and that also what brought us together. We have done some podcasts, and you have spoken about values and virtues and all this kind of. When I went my hero's journey, what became very important for me, it was what virtues and what values am I living from. So before 2013, I wasn't so, even though all of us want to do the best, but I hadn't go deep into what does it mean to embody this value, because we have it in our mind, and it's kind of, when it's only in our mind, and if you don't embody it, it's kind of you haven't integrated it. So I started the integration in 2013, and courage is an important thing, and love, and all these good values that the consensus kind of, we know they're there and we agree on them, but does it live in our body?
Exactly. Does it live in the body?
Yeah.
Great question.
And that's the feminine side of virtues, because just having it in the mind is the masculine, but we need to integrate it, like going into the dark womb, the unknown, that it lives there, so it becomes a fundament.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
But that's kind of the work we are in now in this period, because I think that all are invited. What rituals live in my body, not only from my mind, but do I really walk the talk? I say to everybody, I live from the quote, be the change you want to see in the world. So I am the change I want to see in the world. So I live as the change I want to see in the world. And I know you, Richard, also live as the change. You have written even more books than me, and you live the change you want to see in the world. So if all of us live the change we want to see, then we will create heaven on earth.
Right. And we will enable heaven, but we will enable more than that, we will enable the growth of consciousness.
Yeah.
Because there is no end state. I mean, we say heaven on earth, but actually consciousness will continue evolving as we evolve.
Yeah.
And so there is no end state. It's useful to say heaven on earth, but actually we'll never get there, because there is always another stage of evolution. There's always another stage of evolution. Yeah, I had this transmission. I may have mentioned it before, but it's called the myth of arrival. It's like, it's a misunderstanding that we're going to arrive through transformation. We're going to arrive at an end state, and it will be nirvana. It'll be heaven. But that's just a myth. It's because consciousness keeps on evolving and has been for thousands of years, and will go on evolving. Even when we think we've reached that target, we will never reach that target, because we'll always keep on evolving. There'll always be something new way of being, which is even a higher way of being than we've felt before. And
yeah, I both agree and disagree with what you say, because yes, we will always evolve, as you say, but I experience living from heaven on earth. I see myself and even though I can become sick, I can experience hard thing and pain and all of that, but my perception is from heaven on earth, because I know that everything that happens to me is for me. Even the pain, it is a lesson in it, and it teaches me something. And so even though you said it will evolve, yes, I agree, but at the same time I call the state I'm living from like heaven on earth, because I have lived from suffering. I have really lived from, until 2013 I lived from suffering. Everything life was against me, and life was shit, kind of. It felt like life was against me all the time. I worked I was a pleaser, and I did everything, and even doing everything that I could wasn't enough. So living from that state for 40 years, and now living the state where the perspective where I come, I call this living heaven on earth. So that's why I agree. Don't agree.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Are there moments in your life when you maybe in this moment I'm not living heaven on earth?
There are moments that I have pain, that I can be sick, but at the same time I can say, okay, I know I go above the experience. I know that even though this, so I don't see it as that I have lost it or something.
No, but there are moments when it's not your lived experience.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying there will always be moments when you say, oh, actually, I'm not living that in this particular moment. Let me get back to, let me take my mind to a place where I can get back to heaven on earth. I mean, I don't think, no matter how evolved you are, you'll always have a little moments of doubt now and again.
Yeah, but I call it detox. When I go through a detox, it's kind of an upgrade. Going through detox, you feel the detox going. So kind of, and I say, okay, this is another upgrade. It's another upgrade. So even though it's painful sometimes.
Okay, so that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
You keep going back and you say, I'm having a detox, I'm having a detox. All I'm saying is that you're continually having to recalibrate.
Yeah. Yes. Recalibrate. Yeah. Because we are evolving all the time. Yeah.
I think recalibrate is a good word because because you're human, after all. And so you're continually recalibrating. And for me, that says, okay, at the moment I'm recalibrating, I'm not actually living heaven on earth. I'm not full of joy in that particular moment.
Okay, yeah.
But I am actually getting back to that joy and I know how to do it.
Yes.
Now, most people don't know how to do it.
Yes. Yeah, no, we are moving together. Yeah, because that was also what I wanted to share with the last song I did with this, what happened the 3rd of July. It's kind of, when we have felt this feeling once, when we have been there once, we can do it again and again and again and again. And that's kind of heaven on earth, I call it, because when we have experienced, we know this place inside. And when we have experienced it once, we can do it hundreds, thousands of times. And we can make a decision, a choice. I want to live from it. And of course, it will be recalibration, as you said. I love that word. So that's the correct word, yeah. But I see myself as living from it, even though I recalibrate from time to time.
So, reset. Well, we're almost getting to the end. And I wanted to share something with you, okay?
Yep.
Because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And we used a word earlier called coherence, when you feel a sense of coherence. So I have written a prayer for coherence, and I'd like to read it to you.
Thank you. I will listen.
May I read it?
Yes.
It'll take a couple of minutes. So here is the prayer for coherence. I arrive. I become still. I release my need to control, my need to know, my need to become. May I become available to what life is asking of me. May what seeks to emerge through me find willing expression. May every person I meet feel more seen, more valued, more encouraged, because our paths have crossed. May my life become a source of coherence. May my presence bring peace. May my words awaken hope. May my actions express love. May my life become an offering. Show me what is mine to do today. Give me the courage to act with humility, the wisdom to know when to act, the patience to know when to wait, and the trust to allow what is seeking to emerge.
Yeah.
I make myself available to serve the unfolding of the whole and to remain faithful to the unique contribution that only I can make. When this day is complete, may I return it with gratitude, trusting that every act of love becomes part of the healing of the world. And I'm sure you agree with that.
That is, you describe what we are heaven on earth. If you live from that perspective, it is kind of empty. It's also called kenosis. So it is kind of, we have called this religious, but this is more spiritual because it is the fundamental of human life, kind of. So this is heaven on earth. You have just put out a prayer for heaven, living from heaven on earth.
Right, and it's all about contribution.
It's all about contribution. I love it. Thank you so much, Richard, for sharing that prayer.
Okay. Well, I think we've probably got towards the end. We've been talking about football. I didn't expect us to talk about football today, but football has many lessons for us.
It had a lot. So I hadn't planned it either, but I said, I think we need to talk about it. So, and now in this night, the last final match was, so we are now in the 20th of July. So it was kind of natural. It was what wanted to come true. We have done what you said in the prayer. So that was what wanted to unfold.
Right. Okay.
Thank you so much, Richard, for saying yes to this podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for listening to the Divine Design podcast with Ann-Peggy Divine. Join us next Sunday for another Heaven on Earth unfolding conversation. With grace, reverence, and unity, may the path of your divine design light the way. From the divine in us to the divine in you.